Did you know half of America owns almost nothing? The bottom 50% of households hold just 2.5% of the nation's wealth. And with the Fed about to cut rates, the rich are about to get even richer. But here's the twist this time, you actually have a chance to fight back because Bitcoin gives regular people like you and me access to the same asset game that Wall Street has been playing for decades. What's up, family? It's Coach Masi, and you're locked into the Daily Hodl. This is where we cut through the noise, talk the truth about Bitcoin, finance, and the economy, and give you the real breakdowns you're not getting on mainstream media. Now, do me a quick favor. If you love Bitcoin news as much as you do, please hit the like button right now because today's episode, it's stacked. All right, let's start with the big one, the Federal Reserve. Look, love them or hate them, their playbook is as predictable as it gets. Right now, markets are betting on rate cuts, and history tells us something very clear. 20 out of 20 times when the Fed has cut rates at record highs, the stock market has pushed even higher in the following 12 months. You heard that right. That's not just a trend, that's a pattern. And it makes sense. Rate cuts lower borrowing cost. Companies can refinance debt, consumers can swipe more credit cards, more dollars chase the same number of assets. It's liquidity on steroids. And Wall Street, well, they know it and they get it. So it's time for you to get it. But let's break this down even more. A 14% average rally in the S&P might sound good if you're managing a retirement fund or a 401k, but in real terms, that's Wall Street's money doubling down. That's the rich getting richer, and that's the game the Fed plays every single time. But here's where it gets interesting. Bitcoin wasn't in the game during most of these cycles. And this cycle, it's a whole different story, and I really want you to pay attention. Here's the difference. Stocks rise 14% on average. Great. I mean, that's wonderful. But Bitcoin, it's not average. Bitcoin is asymmetric. It reacts differently to liquidity. Why? Because Bitcoin has a capped supply. You can't print more of it. You can't dilute it. Demand goes up, price goes vertical. That's how it works, and that's how it always should work. Look at the past cycles. When the Fed floods liquidity and people start looking for yield, Bitcoin doesn't just move a few points. It has doubled, tripled, even more. But that's because it's global. It's 24/7. And unlike the dollar, it can't be manipulated by printing presses, right? And here's the other thing. This cycle is the first time Bitcoin is part of the financial mainstream. ETFs are here. Institutions are buying. Hedge funds are allocating. We've got the halving supply shock in the rearview mirror. All of these forces are stacking up. So when the Fed pulls the trigger on rate cuts this coming week, it's not just stocks that are going to run. Bitcoin could absolutely melt faces. Might not be this week, but it will be over the next few months. That's my belief. But here's the part nobody wants to talk about. The Fed's moves don't help everyone equally. In fact, they make the wealth gap worse. Let me give you a stat that should maybe make you angry. The bottom 50% of Americans, half this country, own just 2.5% of the total wealth. Meanwhile, the top 10% own the majority of assets. What happens when the Fed cuts rates? Assets pump. The rich get richer, and half of the country gets left further behind. This is not a bug, it's a feature. The system is designed to funnel wealth upward. You can't work your way out of it, and you can't just save your paychecks. You have to own assets. That's why every Fed cycle, the same story plays out. Those who own win. Those who don't lose ground. That's why I keep saying Bitcoin is not just an investment, it's an equalizer. You don't need to be in the top 10%. You don't need a Wall Street insider to give you access. Anyone, anywhere can buy Bitcoin. You can stack sats with as little as a few bucks by dollar cost averaging. And suddenly, you're a part of an asset class that can't be manipulated, can't be printed, and has historically outperformed everything else when liquidity floods the system. You see, this wealth gap is going to grow in the next cycle. I guarantee it. That's just reality. But you have a choice. Stay on the sidelines or get in the game with assets that actually benefit when the Fed flips the switch. I'm trying to help you, but it's up to you to decide. And speaking of flipping the switch, let's talk about positioning yourself for the next 12 months. So here's the setup. Rate cuts are coming. Liquidity is about to flow. The S&P 500 is already at record highs. Stocks will likely grind higher. Real estate will benefit from cheaper borrowing costs. But the asymmetric upside, the thing that can change your portfolio forever, well, to me, that's Bitcoin. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not financial advice. This is for educational purposes only. Always do your own research, but if we connect the dots, the story is clear. The Fed cuts, Wall Street pumps, the wealth gap grows, and Bitcoin, well, scarce, global, unstoppable, has the potential to outperform it all. So, here's the thing. You don't need to be a billionaire hedge fund manager to play this cycle. All you need is conviction, discipline, and a long-term view. Stack, hold, and don't let the noise shake you out. That's why it's called the Daily Hodl. So let me leave you with this. 20 out of 20 times, the Fed cut rates and the stock market has rallied. History says the same thing will happen again, but this time, Bitcoin is here. The wealth gap is growing, and you have to decide which side of history you're going to be on. I know what side I'm on. So if you own assets, like me, this cycle could change your life. If you don't, you'll get left behind. That's the harsh reality. Bitcoin is the tool, the hedge, the lifeline. Don't ignore it. All right, family. Now it's your turn. Do you think Bitcoin will outperform stocks in the next 12 months? Or do you think Wall Street keeps the upper hand this cycle? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what you think. So please smash that like button if you haven't already. Hit subscribe and share this video with your people who love Bitcoin news. Let's spread the word and keep growing this community. Or maybe anybody that wants to be a millionaire, like myself. Okay, this is not financial advice again, but I promise you, if you stay sharp, you stay disciplined, and keep your eyes on the bigger picture, well, you're going to be successful. Anyways, that's what I believe. That's your Daily Hodl. Stay sharp, stay disciplined, and as always, Lead.Pray.Hodl. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.